better than ever. And I know right now that I'm going somewhere and I need some cheddar. Oh, baby, better not.
Hey everyone, it's Andre Luck here with my next episode of the Sports Sales Show, and I'm excited to talk about a topic that I speak a lot about and really what I built my business around, which is B2B sports sales. And what I'll do in this episode is go through kind of my evolution from being just a ticket sales rep and leader to someone who understands and is still learning at a high level, but understands businesses better so that I could then teach and coach some of the top sports salespeople out there how to work with businesses and how to drive more revenue from the business community, because there's such a huge opportunity and great chance to really grow and expand your career if you could do that well. So I think the first thing where I'll start, where I think I've learned, is you can't dabble in B2B. A lot of times it's sports will, in the off season, or, when leads are low and there's nothing else we could do, we'll call some businesses and, see how that goes. But it's such an inconsistent, long sales cycle. They're on their timeline. They don't care about our campaign schedule and like season schedule and calendar and everything like that. So it has to be an always on activity, from your marketing efforts to your sales efforts, and just consistently out there building a brand, networking with people, with individuals. And we call a lot of times individual game buyer leads. You can pretty much project and predict, right? I have 100 leads, they'll close at X%, and in this time of the year they'll close this much, this time of the year they'll close that much. And you can kind of work backwards with, a few tweaks based on how the team performs and maybe some things that you weren't expected that go in your favor the other way, but you're pretty on point of like, all right, I'll drive this much revenue. Businesses, we could probably get to a point once we have enough data to start to project that, but not enough people are doing it consistently and tracking and measuring it to do that. So that's the challenge. Everyone wants to do it. No one really knows where to start. No one really knows how to keep it going and what to project from it. And so this black box of, we know there's opportunity there. Our biggest sales come from it. And so where we come in and we really focus is helping people build a sustainable structure and process. So before we dive into some of that and what that looks like to just get started, which I'll hit on at the end of the episode, I'll walk back to my journey. Partly just so people know I'm still figuring this out, and I did not have it figured out at all coming up as a rep. But also, if a lot of people are in the same boat, here's how you can kind of grow out of that and step into being a more educated, more skilled B2B salesperson. So I started my career with Arizona Diamondbacks. This was 2007, 2008. My biggest sales that year, actually my whole time there, came from businesses. And I had no clue as I look back really what I was doing. My first sale, it was cold, it was winter. I dressed up in this suit. The guy no showed me. He came back a couple of days later. He walked to his seats, bought, and I'm like, oh, I know how to sell businesses. And if you follow my content, you probably heard this story before. But he just bought because he was a past season ticket holder and he just happened to use it for business. That same year at FanFest, there was a past season ticket holder again. They came out. We had just opened up this new club area. They wanted to look at seats. They wanted to look at new spaces, and I showed it to them. They ended up buying it through the business, and it was the biggest sale we had during FanFest, like selling these new seats. So I was having a lot of success selling to businesses. That even got me noticed by our COO, Tom Garfinkel, who's now the CEO at Miami Dolphins, Hard Rock, and F1. Or he came over, was like, who's this new inside sales guy who's like making all these sales? But again, it was great for my confidence because I'm like, right, like people are noticing what I'm doing. But as I look back, I really didn't know what I was doing. And so, as the recession happened in 2009, we obviously dialed back off calling businesses. But the person that, did it, and he's, continued to have a great, successful B2B career, that was staying focused to selling to businesses, like had success that year. He took his time. He brought people out to games. He built genuine, authentic connections and just networked. His name's Jeff Campbell. And I used to be like, why is he wasting all his time bringing people to games? They're not going to buy. And then over time, he just had this pipeline built up and was just crushing it at sales. And so that was my first thing of like, all right, like I probably need to tweak my approach. But at that point, I was getting to a point where I wanted to get into leadership. So I kind of dialed back off focusing on my sales development career, which was a terrible decision, but really focused on like helping be a leader, helping be a coach, leading role plays, pulling reports for my boss. And those are valuable years that I probably could have learned more about the sales process, how to work with local Phoenix businesses, getting out to networking events. I did none of that as a rep. So it's just interesting now. That's a lot of what I do. But looking back, that was a big opportunity for me. So I think that's it. It's like as a rep, just really immersing yourself in the business community. What do business people talk about? Where are they at? What events do they go to? It's awkward. It's uncomfortable, especially if you're an introvert like me. Like you don't want to put yourself in those situations and those scenarios. But I think just putting yourself in that environment helps you just better understand how do you work with business people. What do they talk about? How can you show an ROI and tell what you do and how you can help their business, and just learn and just listen. You're not expected to have it all figured out, and it's such a long sales cycle that you're not going to go to an event, meet somebody, and they buy. Like that's just not how it works. But early in your career, like that's one thing you definitely need to do is just get out there and just meet with business people. And I hid behind that. I didn't do enough of that. So that's probably a big mistake. Then I went to Arizona State, go Devils. I got another big game this weekend, but I went to Arizona State and I managed the staff there, and I wasn't there long enough to really, develop a B2B process. And as I look back, I don't even really remember putting much focus on that. I was hiring a bunch of people, training, developing, trying to build out systems and processes. And like, we probably talked to some businesses, but, in college sports now, if you're in college or considering getting to college, like that is a huge opportunity, tapping into that local alumni base. And all those people, probably have moved on into roles in their career. Even if they're not the person who's going to make the decision or, be the end user, they can get you into someone in their network. So I think that's a big opportunity for college sports, and one that I didn't tap into when I was there. So, after about 7 months, I went to the Houston Astros. And that was probably another big missed opportunity, because now I'm in one of the biggest business communities within the US. And there is so much money in oil and gas. We used to always talk about it. And you drive around town, you see all these big buildings, you see, all this money. And a lot of people already did business with us. So we had relationships, which is good. But from a new business standpoint, I hammered a lot on, single game buyers, past season ticket holders, prospecting like groups and things like that. And then, we started to dive into businesses, because I just realized like at some point you kind of call all your good leads on the B2C side. And as you're starting to manage more senior level people, I felt this too as a rep, like you just kind of get tired of talking to people who came to one game and trying to get them to 5 games. Like it's such a manual process. And today, like you definitely don't need to be doing that. AI can nurture people. Technology, they could just buy online through your digital channels. And that's probably more of a marketing play versus having a rep do that now. So you definitely need to focus in the businesses. So, I was like, all right, let me talk to people in the industry and see, how are they attacking business community. And, there was one sales trainer that, we really hit it off with. His name was Sean Graham. So we brought him in to work with our team. And humbling for sure, but also it was comforting, because he really broke it down in a way that was so simple, of like, just be a normal person. Like they're a business person, they're a normal person too. So are you. Yes, they have more experience, but just talk to them. If anything, just, that probably goes in your favor if you just, talk to them, ask them about their business, ask them how they get clients, ask them what they do to take care of their clients. It didn't have to be like we'd have these scripts and these questions, and I don't know how it circulated, but we would send it around the league and send it all the teams, and it was like 25 questions to ask business prospects. And some of them were probably good, but some were super generic that, as an executive now, and as I talk and work with CEOs, if someone sat in front of me, it's like, all right, I took this meeting, and, you're busy, you got emails to catch up on, and someone's asking you these like basic generic questions of stuff they could have researched online or they should already know. It's again humbling to go through that experience. So he came out, I want to say this was like 2016. Everyone was super excited, everyone was pumped up, like, all right, we're going to go hit the businesses and everything like that. 2-3 months go by and everyone kind of goes back to what they were doing. We go into the holidays because it was an off season. We come back, fan fest, the season, we're back into that groove and that swing of things, talking to fans and everything like that. Businesses got put on the back burner. There was maybe like 1 or 2 reps who stuck with it. But even then, I didn't train them well. I didn't prep them well for it. So they didn't have a ton of success with it. So that year, and then we win the World Series. So then obviously like a flood of people are coming at us, like consumers and individuals and past season ticket holders and a couple businesses, but mostly just fans. that were, and a lot of brokers too, as we look back on it, that were just trying to, buy season tickets to get tickets. So we asked Sean, we're like, all right, we want you to come back again. And he's a British guy. He's like, I forget the exact words he said, but he's like, mate, like your team hasn't learned a thing from when I was here last year. Like, I'm glad to come back and happy to, but like, I'm literally teaching you the same thing you guys did last year. And I didn't have the heart to tell him that like we didn't do any of it. He already knew, I'm sure, but so we had to start over. And this is where I go back to, it has to be an all the time thing. Even if there are other priorities, find someone else to handle that or find other ways to deal with that. If you're like, all right, as a team, as an organization, we're going to dive into businesses, not just because it's the thing to say and like thing to do, but like because we actually see an opportunity here, you need to put the resources to it and make sure that happens. Or you'll be in the situation I was, where I literally invested in bringing a sales trainer out. We did none of it, brought him out again to teach the exact same thing a year later. And we did a better job that time. I learned from that experience, but that also kind of plays into, the way we've built out, my training. I talk to teams. I'm like, I know what happens if I just come out for 2 days or we do just virtual sessions. If there's not reinforcement by us or you or both of us in some combination, you're going to ask me or someone else to come out a year later and it's going to be the same thing. It needs to be an ongoing thing. So, we really look for those type of engagement and partners that see the value in that versus just pushing training on people and, hey, good luck. Hopefully it works out for you. So that's something that I definitely learned. I'd say also, again, we won the World Series. Um, Not a lot of businesses came, so you need to be ready for those moments too, to capitalize and leverage, and you have that excitement when people are talking about you. The other thing that I wish I did a better job of is, we had, our owner is like one of the top business people in the Houston area, so just learning more and spending more time with them. But like our corporate partnerships team, like they're out in the community. We brought in a golf tournament, and so they're out finding sponsors and partners and things like that for it. And we didn't do a good job on our side, at least me as a director, of like engaging with them and how we could better work together. Obviously don't want to step on each other's toes, but I could have done a better job of just understanding how their salespeople hit the market, how we could be better partners to them, and just be and develop my people to be organizational type sellers. I think that's the future. I think that should be the now, but definitely the future, where you have reps that come into your organization and they're not, I'm just a ticket sales rep, or I just sell season tickets, or I just sell group tickets. Like, you need people that are bringing in revenue for the organization. So just think about it, because you're working with business people and you're coming across all different types of people: CMOs, VPs of sales, heads of HR, CEOs. And if you're like, well, I only sell this one thing, you're missing out on so much opportunity. Like, they may have a need for marketing assets. They may want to do something out in the community with their philanthropic efforts. And you need your B2B salespeople to be well versed, or at least have some sort of incentive to bring that deal over to the corporate partnerships team or your B2B sales team or premium sales team, or however you have it set up. Because if not, you're going to try and force these people into something like, oh, it wasn't a fit. And now, if I'm the CEO or CRO of a sports team and I had this opportunity with this large business, but because my reps only incentivized to sell group tickets or season tickets or partial plans, and it just wasn't a fit, now we missed out on that opportunity. Like, you're just throwing money away as a leader with your sales team. So, teach them to be well versed in understanding. Forget the term my old CRO used when I got to the Marlins, but more commercially focused, more enterprise focused versus just your department staying in your lane, everything like that. So that was my time in Houston. It really started to spark, all right, there's something here and I need to dive into this more. So then come to Miami, come to Marlins. Businesses were an opportunity just because Miami is a big city as well, and a lot of big businesses. I should have learned Spanish because a lot of Latin American businesses. I got my haircut. I was talking to my barber. I want to say he's Nicaraguan. And so, so sometimes we're just talking about, what I do and, my time in sports and stuff like that. And he's like, have you ever gone into a meeting where, they only speak Spanish? I said, it's funny. one of my reps, he's very engaged in like the Venezuelan business community. He had this event at our ballpark, like in our club area, and the whole thing, it was the Venezuelan Business Chamber. It was all in Spanish. I said I had no clue what was going on, but like at times people would clap and I'd see people get excited. And I tried to have Google Translate out, but it only get like every third or fourth word. So all that to say, there's a ton of business down here in Miami and a big opportunity if you're a salesperson in any capacity. And now you can sell internationally or tap into an international market and leverage things like that when they have customers come in town for baseball, soccer, the World Cup's coming here. Like that's huge. But yeah, coming here to Miami and working with the Marlins, I want to put more of a focus on it, and did a better job than I did in Houston, and definitely I did in Arizona with the Diamondbacks. But I think the thing that was missing with that was, one, we weren't consistent with it, but two, just like the right approach. Very still sports heavy, very still sports focused on how we sell to businesses. And it was like campaigns in the off season, and we pull some leads and we call some businesses. And my best reps, kudos to them for doing their own thing. They didn't ignore me, but they got it because they've been out there. They're on the phones. They're out at networking events. They're on LinkedIn. Like they knew how to get meetings with decision makers. They knew how to have conversations. They knew how to build packages that didn't fit into our rigid, all right, you can only buy this type of ticket package with these benefits. They're like, no, let me like throw something together. Let me, take some season tickets, take some group tickets, take some suites and bundle into a business package because that's a better fit. So, they got it. And so that's where I learned we had to be a little more versatile. And so that's where I met, my current partner now as it relates to consulting, Jake Dunlap. I got connected with him through LinkedIn, but I'd follow a lot of his content. I'm like, that's what we need. We need something different. We need something modern. And he was really big on like personalization and relevance and, making sure that, you're having conversations with business people about ROI and telling that story and not just, hey, we work with business people, but we work with CMOs, CEOs of tech companies here in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. And here's what they're telling us. So it was a different approach, got us using, definitely me using LinkedIn, which has definitely helped in my career. And, just using modern approaches and best practices. So, from going from someone who sold a lot of businesses without knowing what they're doing to now, I have somewhat of a process and understanding of how to do it. Very early in scratching the surface of some of these modern processes, but I learned it just takes time. Like if you're doing the things consistently, you're making the calls, you're prospecting leads, you're getting active on LinkedIn, you're going out in the community. You can't be so measured and calculated with how it's going to work, but if you commit to it, you're going to start to see success. So that led to, as I got into consulting after I left the Marlins, of like, where's the opportunity? And I shared this before, but I thought the biggest opportunity where I could make the impact was going to be helping kind of bridge the gap between sales and marketing. Because from a marketing standpoint, they're marketing the brand, the team, as they should, to the fans. Because when you look just from a volume perspective, and if you're looking at how do you get the biggest return on Facebook ads, Google ads, Meta ads, things like that, it's going to be consumers who are like, oh, wow, like this team's coming to town, or, there's this special ticket bundle or this bobblehead night or whatever. Like you could see a direct ROI. A business person isn't thinking, oh, there's a bobblehead night. I need to go find my top 5 prospects and bring them out to that game. So you're not getting that direct return. So I get why, because it's tough to measure and, you're strapped so thin within sports and you don't put the resources to it. I was like, all right, I'm going to be that gap. But the challenge I faced is, because sports teams are, so strapped when it comes to resources and they needed to make sales yesterday. Very few were like, oh, like, yeah, we need to, bring somebody in who's going to set up a strategy for 6 to 9 months from now. Like, no, they needed somebody who could do that today and who could make sales today. So the biggest impact I can make right now is going to be around working with the sales team, working with the reps, helping build out a system and a process so that, they can close deals now, but also start to set up a process in the future. And what I've learned as I've started to work with teams is, all right, let's get the sales team right. Let's lay that foundation. Let's lay that groundwork and everything like that. Then once we've proven success and, they're seeing that it works, now we can start to implement some of those B2B best practices and B2B marketing processes were
That's nothing, that's nothing. I'ma be doing this and I'm gonna be head hunting. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go. Oh baby, don't know. Oh baby, don't go.